Good evening, everybody. How are we this evening? Hi, Paul. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us again. So, tonight I thought I'd run through a track that we've got coming out. That's myself and good evening, everybody. Adam. How are we this evening? And he's Fade the Horizon. And this is one of our first releases. So if you were watching last night, we were talking about building up followings and networking and talking about what we would do in 2026. So one of the things that I said is do like a cover or a bootleg of a track that you've done. Now, the kind of music we're doing isn't really about bootlegs, but it's an inspired track, and it's just taken the hook from it. We've replayed it. It doesn't sound exactly the same, but we like it, and it's a feeling. And it's more melodic house, techno. I would say camel fatty, whatever you want to call it. And we want to release it. So we're probably not going to be able to release it. That's the thing. We have got the publishing. I've spoken to Solarstone. So the way it works is this, and a lot of people don't seem to understand, so I thought I'd talk about it. If you want to release a bootleg, okay, and it contains a part of the original, you have to clear the master copy, right? So first thing you need to do is clear it with the label who own that master copy. So let's just say Solarstone signed it to Huge Tunes originally. Like Huge Tunes would own that master copy. So if I'd sampled some of that record, I've got permission off them to use that sample, and then permission off the people who own the publishing to release it as well, which is a lot of work. And everybody wants some money in this game. And for us house people who don't really make a lot of money, it's it's a bit of a nightmare. So what we've done is we've done a cover. And what a cover means is that we can put it up on YouTube, we can put it available for streaming, but we can't put it up to download, specifically America. Okay. So if you've like this record is a cover, and we've taken the main line out of a track and we've reproduced it, and we want to get it out. So now we have to get permission off those people, off their publishers, to get it cleared. And they'll want some money. And they'll probably want a couple of grand or something like that. I don't know yet. And, you know, ideally, I would like to make the offer of we give them 100% of the publishing, but we don't know. So we might give this away as a free bootleg. We won't be able to put it on Beatport. We're not happy to take that gamble, as a lot of people obviously are nowadays. But that's the law behind it. You know, if it's just for streaming, you're allowed to do it. Just like when someone's doing a cover on YouTube or whatever, and people do covers on Spotify and stuff like that. That seems to be okay, but not if you're downloading it. And the law changes whichever country in. I think the America's law is slightly different to this one. So let's have a listen to the track. And say hello if you're watching. Ask any questions, don't worry about it. Okay, let me know what you think. I hope it's all sounding okay, everybody. Paul C said, if the tune blows up, isn't it better to have a percentage than nothing if you don't release it? Well, the fact of the matter is they're not going to go for that. It is a cover. There's no vocals of our own in there. And the reality of it is most publishing companies aren't going to allow you to take less than, they'll want the whole 100%. And to be honest with you, that's kind of fair enough. If the tune blows up, your name blows up and you get to DJ. So why do we make this tune? We made this tune because we wanted to put a couple of familiar things in our sets. We also wanted to give something away to people so that we could build up our mailing list and our networking, because this isn't really our area. I mean, it's a little bit Camel Fatty, it's a little bit more Enelia. It's quite current, and I've given it to a couple of big name DJs and they really like it and are playing it, as you will soon see. So what we'll probably do is with this, we'll probably just give it away to people so they can use it for sets for the people who play this kind of music. So let's get into the technical side of it. Okay, it's quite simple really. We start off with a kick. I've just changed the kick. We started off with a softer kick because when Adam and I started this project, our music was a bit lighter, and towards the end of making 14 tracks, we've decided to go a bit tougher. A bit of everything really, but we decided that each track needs to slam really with dynamic style music, because that's our #1 label. So I've got the kick, always MIDI, and I've got a kick here called Camel Harder Faster. It's a real hard kick. It's what Mike from Camel Fat gave me when he listened to the track and he liked it, and he said I need something a bit harder. This is the kick. You see, it's quite hard, it's quite short, which is quite good, because then we can have the offbeat bass really bouncing with it. And on the kick, we filter the EQ up and down. Bit of a low cut. I'm clipping it because we're trying to make this as loud as possible. So it's making it perceived to be louder, but the numerical numbers lower. And that's because that's what clipping does. It also seems a little bit harder with the distortion that's been created. And I really like the sound of it. It's really helped it cut through. We're trying to get this track as loud as possible with this kind of music. So that's the kick. Okay, so let's go straight to the bass. So the bass is made up of 2 basses. Okay, so we've got 3 basses altogether, 1 for the breaks. So okay, so why have we made it up? Because of 2 basses, right? Because some of the notes are too high. We'll go into that one first, actually. So when it hits the C, there's not a lot of bass in it. So in the track, it made the track feel like it was losing energy when the C was supposed to be in. So what I did was I tried a few things. I will have tried R bass, and I added this, and we give it a boost, and it added some sub to the C. Okay, so we put that on a separate channel because we don't know how to sub to the other notes. So we put the C on a separate channel. Let's just start on and off. Even in these headphones, I can see there's a big difference there. And what that does is just makes it feel like the track's not losing any energy. Okay, so that's the subsynth. Before that, I've got a little bump at 51 hertz, just Create some harmonics. I would have tried that first, not taking it off. Then got a Pro Q3, just doing a bit of a low cut in the end. And then I'm side chaining it under 193 hertz just to make, you can hear the tail going out, just to cut it down so it's not overpowering the kick. And then I've made it mono because it's a sub. This is really the kind of the bottom bass. The top of the bass, which you hear, is a different synth altogether. So that's a sub bass in the C. And then that's what I've done. I've got the boosts here, a little parallel saturation at 51 hertz and 299 hertz. I would have done that in the mix. Pro Q3, same thing. Duck, same thing. That's it. Okay. And then on the bus, I've just got an oscilloscope so that I can see the levels of everything when I'm mixing for loudness. Let's have a listen to that in the track. And the whole idea is that you think it sounds faster because you've got the 16s bass, which is called the high bass, which is really a synth. And we had the 16s bass had the bass in it, and it just, you don't feel that a lot of the time. So sometimes I prefer just to put an offbeat bass in or a double hit on the, one on the 3rd 16th, just to give the track a bit more bounce in the club. And that's what we're making it for the club. It's quite prominent in the offbeat, but I really like it. That's the bass. Okay, so let's go to the music. Any questions, just let me know. Do you have a set level for your kicks that you then mix everything else into? I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, Paul, but talk a bit more about how I gain stage nowadays. But we might go into that in a bit. But yeah, for now we'll talk about the lead. Okay, so what's the lead? The lead is a Serum sound. Found a preset we like, messed around with a wavetable, done it all in here. Let's have a listen to that. Nice. To be honest with you, if we were releasing this properly, we'd probably want to get the analog synths in there, spend a bit more time and a bit more money. But this is going to be just a giveaway for now, unless we clear the publishing, which we probably won't. Just take out the rumble at the bottom. Would have done that in the mix. Bit of saturation, bit of body around 360 and top around 213. Would have done that in the mix. Bit of Echo Boy, giving it delay, and bit of vintage reverb. Taking out the bottom end, mix, 2.86 seconds, concert hall 70s. Great reverb. That's a lead. Like normally, I would compress that, distort it, parallel compression. In fact, I might do that now, actually. Let's see if we can get anything out of this. This isn't our normal way we do our tracks, but sometimes just getting things done fast and finished is the way to do it. It wasn't meant just for a bootleg for our sets, but yeah, we're going to give it away. So we're looking for a rouser. This is a copy of the Distressor. I obviously don't want to distort the reverb or the delay, so I'm going to put that beforehand. Maybe we could try and get a bit of body out of this. So this is the Empirical Labs version of Distressor, but more advanced. And Empirical Labs are the people who make the Distressor, the hardware. This is their version. It's really good. So I'll just have a mess around, do the art method just to see how it sounds. Try a bit of parallel and just see if it gives a bit more body. I'll do it in isolation first of all. First thing I do is fast attack, fast release, load of compression, 10 to 1. Add a bit more saturation if you want to in here. So you can hear it's bringing out the tail of the sound there, and it's adding a bit of distortion at the beginning, which I don't really like in the track, but maybe I want a little bit of that to thicken it up a little bit. Yeah, I really like what that's doing it and to it. And obviously, it doesn't matter what it sounds like in isolation. You're better off doing it in the mix. So it's distorted a bit. It's making it a bit tougher. Made it cut through a little bit more, which is what we want for the clubs. Let's put the reverb and delays on and listen to it on and off with that on in the mix. Okay, so give it a lot more attitude, better for this track, sounds really good. I really like what that's doing. Honestly, we could probably go up a little bit more than that. I've got these new headphones by Neumann, just so when I'm doing the streams I can't hear it, so I've not quite got used to them sounding yet, so there's no feedback in the mic. So that's the lead. And then you've got the lead bass. So what we've done here, we've just done an ARP, as you can see, and we've done it so it works with the notes, and you can hear it there where it's doing it. So what have we used for that? We've used an arpeggiator. Going into a mini monster. Let's turn the arpeggiator off. And let's turn it on. And we've basically just used this preset, which is called Emerson's style bass, but we've changed it a bit. Basically, sawtooth wave. And we've taken the bottom end of it, taken the top out of it, and it just really cuts through the mix. Yeah, a lot of this music is like this, and the arpeggiator in Ableton is amazing. You know, use a lot of these. Converge is really good sometimes. I did it on 16s, and yeah, really like it. And that's what Ableton's great for, just getting ideas down together. Into the mini monster, a bit of EQ, Bit of Spectre, needed a bit of body in the mix, so I'll boost it around 300. And then I'll give a bit of width. So let's start on and off in the mix. It's only subtle because I've got the vocals really at the side, and then I've got that just kind of in my studio. I've got that there, and I've got the sub bass, the kick there, the bass there, and I've got the lead synth there, and I've got the hi-hats up at the top. So everything's got its space, but the key elements have all got something in the center. Always, let's turn that on and off. Let's listen to that in mono. Obviously, we're losing quite a bit of vocal there. It makes the track sound really, really wide. When we've gone to mono, it's still there a little bit, but the key elements are there. The vocal, you know, if the lead sound was falling down in volume, I would be looking at the lead sound. But most nightclubs are, you know, not most nightclubs, a lot of nightclubs and festival systems can be in mono. And even though sometimes the stereo stage can be stereo, you know, the satellites at festivals are in mono. So you want to hear the record punch wherever you are, in a festival, in a club, in a bar. You want it to sound as much the same there and then. I mean, we're making records specifically for clubs. Can't see this being played in a bar, so I just want it to punch and be ready for it. We'll look at the vocals in a sec, actually. So that's the isotope. Always check it in mono. I'm side chaining that to the kick under 232 hertz. And then I've just got a tiny bit of reverb to give it a bit of width. And it sits it back in the mix a little bit. So yeah, I like that. So that's what we call the high bass, and that did have the bottom in it originally, but we ended up going for that. So then we've got the pads. Again, we're going for that kind of gorgeous, lush, hypnotic feel. And it doesn't sound amazing in isolation, but in the mix, it really was the right frequencies to use, and we really liked it. Omnisphere, you've got everything in here. This is Omnisphere 3 now, so it's fantastic. This and Trillion are two very good investments, but you need an external hard drive. That's the pads. And then we've got the choir. So let's look at the choir. Okay, so I've basically just got some off splice. There. I've put a shaper box on. You know. Pretty cool, eh? Simple. Give it a boost at 1200. I would have done that in the mix and everything else in. Just, and then I have just tried to increase the transient on it and the length of it, just to help it punch through the mix. Again, these are things that I do in the mix. Let's listen to that. Very subtle. And then I've got the Valhalla reverb, because obviously without it, it sounds like this. Glues it to the track, but sits it a bit further back in the mix. Again, the lead one is the most important lead here. So let's have a look at that choir, actually, while we're here, what we'll do. So let's see if we can make this track sound ace in mono. I'm going to listen to it. You see, it's really phasey on its own. So there's not really much that I can do with that. But if I was just mixing for mono, what I would do is this. I would go, right. Get an EQ. And I would just turn down the sides. In fact, I can use something different for this. I use this. So what this is a free plugin from Voxengo. Great set of plugins, really like them. You can mute the mid or the side. So you've got this, you've got. So what that means is that I can turn up or turn down the sides, which I want to do with this sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to turn it down, let's say 4 dB. And I'm going to listen to how it sounds when I go to mono. I'm going to turn the sides down by 6 dB. I'll listen to it in the mix. I would get the level right. In mono, and then just mess around with the sides in stereo. And obviously I'm listening to headphones, so I'm struggling. But now when I play this in a club that's got a mono system, now, you might notice there that we've lost all the reverbs. It's the reverbs now that are making this track sound wide. And that's how I prefer it, to be quite honest with you. Honestly, if it was mixing specifically mono, which I would prefer, I would add a bit of mono reverb to that. So. Or I'd even put the reverb on, that might help. It is a very wide reverb, that. What I might do is create a group with that. And then Maybe just try and bring it in a little bit. Oh, we could use that again. We could use MSED. I like that. Create a chain, bring it in the mix. And now the track sounds virtually the same in mono and stereo. And you know, this is what you've got to do with these tracks. You know, I learned this years ago, and I was DJing at, like, I'm talking 20 years ago. But I've installed sound systems for years, and I work with sound companies, and I always double check up on this to see where we're up to. Still plenty of systems in mono, not loads, but big stages in festivals where they're really wide, a lot of the people put them in mono there. So if you're near a speaker on the right and the other speaker from the left's too far away, you're going to be missing certain things if they're panned. But if you're further back and you're getting all your sound from a satellite, which is in mono, you want it to sound as good as possible. And as a DJ and as a producer, I want my music to sound perfect wherever it is. And if that means sacrificing a little bit of that, oh, it sounds amazing on Spotify because it sounds really wide, then I'm happy to do that, because that's what I'm making records for. You've got to know your demographic. You've got to know who you're making music for. So that's the vocal. And then we've got the effects bus. And it's quite a simple track, this. You know, a lot of this music is. Yeah, you've got a simple track. You've got one lead. It's beautiful. It's got different elements of the track, like with the bass, where you go from just a single note, building up, a bit of a break. Yeah, goes in, and then suddenly you've got the key changes, and then you go into the breaks. You come out of the breaks, bit of a chop up, coming out of the break, bit of a build up, and then you've got this beautiful chord changes to the last break, and then you go back to the single note. And it's quite simple. So when you're making tracks like this, you've got to keep it going really, really busy, but not with just like four, like what I forgot there, 22, 2, so 16 different channels of different things. You know, not just one kind of effects, build-ups, different pitch rises. You know, some things are in twice, some things are in 3 times, some things are in 5 times. Keep the journey going, but don't make it sound like you're using the same thing all the way through. That's that on the effects bus. I've got a duck on that, just sidechain it, cutting out the low end. On the music bus, nothing. Pro Q3, just cutting out the bottom end. I really want that bottom end to slam in the clubs. And then drums are really simple. Clap. Chose the right cap. I've used a bit of snapback, where I thought it wasn't cutting through the mix enough, so I did a bit of a transient to it, which is nice. I've then got a Valhalla vintage verb, and then I'm clipping that because obviously it's going to be cut. Will be cutting through the mix massively and hitting the master limiter. So I'd rather do it on the individual item. Then got the second one. What's this? Okay, so this is the little slide leading into the snare. See it quite a lot. And then straight hat, nothing to it, didn't need anything. What's the point? Chose a good sample, then a 16s hat. Just got one that worked, went cut through the track, and then I've got the ride. you know, which just adds a few frequencies. I would normally low cut that out, but I've not done it. And then I've got an open hat, which is surprising for me. And again, I put these at the end, and that's why they're in MIDI. I work in MIDI so we can change things out through all the time to cut through the mix of all the music and the things that are more important. So yeah, so that's the track. And then on the pre-master bus, Pro Q4, just doing automating the volume so that the brakes lift, the drops lift up. So you just minus 2.66. I hate it when you see the old waveform and you get this big energy and it drops down. And when you listen to the track, you can hear that the energy disappears from the track. You should always think about doing this on your drops, taking the volume down. And feel it. Don't just go for a certain figure every single time. Pro Q4. I've then got a compressor, just kind of gluing it all together. Let's listen to that on and off. Oh, this is one of the best compressors out there. Give it a bit of glue, give it a bit of presence in the mid-range if you heard it. Tighten it up. You've got to be mindful that you're not bringing the sides in when you're working with stuff like this. What I've done is, you can, the trigger, the sideband, what did I want to trigger it? So House's track, I want the drums and the hats to trigger it. On this one, I just wanted the kick. So I turned the weight down, which means how much of the highs and the mids are triggering the compressor. And I made it work with the sidechain in this instance. I really like it. You've got some saturation here. Didn't need it. I've got plenty of saturation. And that's it. Can use any compressor for this, but this is a really good mastering compressor. I use it all the time now. And then got Spectre. I think I've got this because I must have put tonal balance up and I must have been missing a few frequencies around 2K. So the magic is in the mid-range, and this plugin, you know, you just put it on your master, it really helps, you know, and I would like to boost it a bit more there, but, you know, it is what's in the track. That's the thing. So that's why I would have done that at the end. I just thought it needed a bit more mid-range. Sometimes your ears can become used to it, but I always like to boost the mid-range, and I'm always trying to be conscious of the low end with the kick and the bass and the hi-hats. So sometimes I forget to pay attention to the mid-range a little bit, and tonal balance is really good for helping you balance your mix. Okay, I've then got the Oxford inflator. I've mixed into that. This would have been on the bus from the beginning, 82%, 15%, and then I would have messed around with the curve and see how it sounds. Mix into it, clipping off, not clipping, so that would have been great. I've then got Endless Smile. You know, like I said, it was just for our sets originally, so bit of bootleg, so simple, easy, but it works. Then got Gold Clip. So I'm hammering it. You know, I want to make this louder. I've just changed the track a little bit, so this might be overcompensating. You know, it's not really working on the kick there, which is good, which is what I'm usually scared of. And I'll go through these and just try them. It's a good mastering clipper. I don't always use this one. Yeah, I always like to use Delta mode. I like to listen, I like to use my ears, and you could hear it was just hitting the kick a little bit. So if you're struggling to hear it breaking up in the mix because everything's in, Using Delta mode can be really, really helpful. Ozone 12, IRC5, I love this. I can really push it loud now. You know, a lot of my tracks now are hitting -6 short-term LUFS all the time, and they're not distorting. So that's what I do. Use the imager, put learn on it, just because it was a bootleg, and I just thought I'd do it. I don't know what I usually do it in the track. As you see, I've not really used much stereo width, but it works. I actually like what it's doing there. I like it a lot. And that's the track. You know, it's dead simple. Any questions for me, everybody? Okay, Paul, we're going to talk about gain staging tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. That's this track. You know, it's simple. If I had one of my clients on today, and I said to him, we just changed his kick and we changed a couple of his sounds, and his track just went boom. You need to concentrate on sample choice, right? All of the time. This is just like a quick track. You know, it didn't take that long for us to make it. Adam cut the track. He sent me the Ableton project. It had the lead sound in there. It wasn't quite right. I've been helping Adam as well. But he's got a real passion, and we met in Ibiza, and we're just doing this project, Kabaza and Fade the Horizon. And this wasn't meant to be anything else. You know, I could go to town this. I could spend a bit more time in it and everything else. But it works. And sometimes when you go back to a track, you don't need all the extras like we've got in this track. You know, when you listen to this other track we've done, which isn't finished, loads of like extra things to keep it going. That's got loads going on. There's lots of changes. It's not mixed up, by the way. But sometimes you just feel in the journey. If you close your eyes, like people say, how do you arrange it? I close my eyes and I feel the track. And we feel this. We feel like it's moving. The effects bus is really helping with the journey. And that's the thing. You know, it's driving, it's driving, it's driving. It's melodic. You've got a breakdown. It's melodic. And then it goes back to driving. It's only, well, it's 6 minutes long, so it's quite long, I guess, for today's kind of times. And yeah, that's it. That's all I would do. Okay, so it's hitting -5. I don't need to be going down to -5, right? What I'll do is I'll just clip it a little less. Okay, did you see that then? You see how it peaked? That's the white noise. You've got to be really mindful of what you put on your drops, right? This is a good lesson. But if you want your tracks to be louder, you've got to go to the loudest point and think about it, okay? This isn't finished, so let's just have a quick look. Up there, I've what have I got on the drop? I've got the Ingo Blaster, but I've sorted it out. I've really low cut it, side chained it. Got this clap delay. I'm just going to try and take out a bit of the bottom end out of it. I could put a duck on it. See, there's something else there really hitting on the one that's... This sounds slightly better, actually. And again, the reason why I push into clippers and the reason why I'm distorting the master bus is because I want to start hearing that distortion. You know, like just then, you know, we noticed I've been messing around with the track. Could you hear it was breaking up slightly? Possibly not, right? But could you hear when I took it back how it sounded a little bit better? I'm assuming you all can. So that's how I work. And I'm going to go into this tomorrow because I'm doing the Mixing for Loudness course. I'm back filming it. And this is an important thing. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it tonight. Everybody, any questions before we go? Okay, great. I hope you liked it. If you want to watch more videos that are a bit more edited and shorter and more to the point than this, then go to subtonemusicacademy.com. £10 a month. You get all the videos included in that. If you want a one-to-one mentorship where I help you finish your records, get your music finished, house, disco, tech house, melodic techno. I've been mixing it all for years. I don't do drum and bass. I don't do hard techno, but I know people, you know, I could put you into people that I recommend. You know, getting your records to be the best they can makes a good first impression. And for the sake of paying for a mix down with somebody or working with someone and improving your skills, then yeah, that's it. Just realised I also had a respace in the break. Standard Serum, great preset. Got it from Splice, and yeah, that's it. So that is our cover of Seven Cities. What do you think of it? Let us know. You know, if you're watching this back again, leave us a comment. If you leave us a like, share, really appreciate it. See you all soon.